But the question is this: is that no matter how you want to define it, left-wing progressives, liberals is the left or the center left in America ahead within the online space, ahead of the conservatives or the right? And if so, is that due to some sort of inherent nature of like a democratizing force from the network neutral internet itself? Is it just about the political climate where the progressives or the center left is rising? Is it simply due to better organizing? Or is it some other factor? And I'd like to pose this to everyone to try to give a quick answer in about 1 or 2 minutes. Matthew?
It's always dangerous to ask an academic to speak only for a minute. Okay, yes.
Yes, okay. But why?
Okay, well, why?
Yeah.
Yes, in the sense that earlier I was talking about how anytime new technology is introduced to politics, eventually some individual or group comes along and understands what it is about this technology that's different from the previous technology, and they're able to then capitalize on that. And I think that progressives are, at this point, ahead of the conservative blogosphere in doing that, in large part because, for a number of reasons, which I don't have time to go into now, some of them having to do with just happenstance. The left blogosphere tends to be more decentralized and more horizontally organized than the right blogosphere, and the real political power of the internet lies in its decentralized nature. So I would contend that progressives are better positioned and have been better positioned to take advantage of that structure. And I think progressives were the first to do it. Even though traffic on the right blogosphere initially was ahead of traffic on the left, if you look at these structural differences, I think that's where you find the real ability to be able to leverage the organizational capacity of the internet to engage in a more decentralized politics that invites more people in. And the one thing I'll add, I know I'm probably way over 2 minutes, but the one thing I'll add to that is that one of the big differences between the internet and the communications revolutions that occurred before it, radio and television, that radio and television are both centralizing media. They bring a lot of people together around a single message. The internet is a decentralizing medium in the sense that there are N websites out there, where N is an enormously large number. If you took any group of internet users, you would find totally different patterns of usage. But because of the decentralized nature of the web, it's possible for a relatively small group of people to have an outsized influence on politics. And I think that's what we're seeing on the left more than we're seeing on the right.
So it's more about the structure of left-wing online organizations and media outlets that because they've taken, like they've structured themselves to the internet better, what you're saying, like they've created decentralized organizations, not necessarily that progressives are more amenable to a decentralized structure, but more that they have something that fit the medium rather than a way of acting that fit the medium.
I actually love having the discussion about whether progressives are better suited to the medium, because I think that's really an interesting conversation to have, and I think you can make a case for it. But I think, I don't know if I would make it sound as intentional. I don't know if you meant to, Chris, but I don't know that it was intentional. I think some of it was out of necessity. Some of it was by accident. The left didn't have the pre-existing hierarchical structures that the right had and has. But as a consequence of the way it's developed, because of these things, yes.
And I do have data that pretty strongly suggests, in particular, if you look at that Blogosphere Authority Index, top 25 progressive blogs and top 25 conservative blogs, when you merge those, I merge those rankings as well to sort of see, on average, are progressives ahead or conservatives ahead. In November 2007, progressives were about 4 spots on average higher than conservatives. Once the election season got going and traffic flooded in for both sides, that difference went up to a 10-spot difference. So as more people came into the blogosphere, the elite progressive blogosphere, your lead increased. There's a lot of data out there that suggests, and also on fundraising on a lot of things, yeah, the Netroots have been winning. What's that? What about now? Well, and so this raises an interesting point in terms of what's going to happen next. John Henke, who's a conservative blogger, but gasp, I'm going to mention him here, and actually a really sharp guy I've enjoyed talking to. So John Henke has this great quote that part of the reason why he thinks, and I think he's right about this, that the progressive netroots have been winning is that it's more fun storming the castle. And really, if you look at the development of the Daily Kos community and the Netroots nation, we've had years, and this started out with Amy Sullivan saying we need to fire the consultants. The Democrats keep on hiring the same people who keep running the same campaigns, who keep losing. We need to get rid of the consultants. We need to get rid of the DLC. Those were targets within the Democratic Party that this Netroots community built up against, while also building up against Bush. And so the idea was if you look at the Democratic Party as a network, or the progressive movement as a network, then because the left was losing, we had an awful lot of work to do in terms of replacing our leaders with new people with new ideas, and also with fighting against bad things coming down the line. And like I said, it's easier to organize an opposition than an articulation. So we're now seeing conservatives rallying and having their tea parties and all that. I'm trying to withhold judgment. At the moment, I'm not impressed. At the moment, I'm seeing them do an awful lot of online stuff which isn't actually building the roots of a large-scale community that we have here. But at the same time, they're going to have another, I expect at least 8 years or 7 years now, of opportunities to organize. And my guess is either the existing conservatives are going to start getting it right, or new conservatives are going to kick them out, and the new ones will get it right. So eventually they ought to catch up.